Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Simon and today I'm here with my March book haul, and it is a big book haul. To be fair, March was my birthday month, so therefore I may have treated myself to a few things here and there. I've also been sent some lovely books and got some books from publishers, and as always we'll go through the books from publishers first, followed by some lovely gifts from people, and then we will head to books that I bought myself. And I'm going to try to go through some of the bookshops that I got them in, although some of them I have forgotten. Also, if you can hear any chaos going on in the background, Biscuit is in the library with me right now, newly, well, not that new anymore, are you, Biscuit? You're 3 weeks here now, but fairly newly adopted cat, and Oscar is outside the door protesting. So yeah, there we go. You're a little bit wonky. So let's crack on with, as always, first of all, books by publishers. And I have one finished copy of a book that I have shown you before. And the reason I like to show you finished copies are sometimes the proofs don't look like the finished edition. However, in the case of Hagstone by Sinead Gleeson, it looks exactly like the finished edition, which I think is just better because it's better for Instagram, etc. Reading this very, very soon. In fact, I might have read it by the time this video goes live, as I will be in conversation with Sinead at Blackwell's Manchester on Wednesday night after this goes live. I love Sinead's writing. I loved her memoir Constellations, and we've known each other for I think about like 15 plus years, so it's going to be really lovely to catch up with her, and I'm very excited for her debut. Then we have some books from publishers, and I'm going to start with a selection that was very kindly sent by the lovely David Ebershoff, and these are all from Hogarth, and they were publishing Bear by Julia Phillips. Now, I read Julia Phillips' previous novel, Disappearing Earth, a couple of years ago and absolutely loved it. And when I saw she had a new novel coming out, I was so excited, but it doesn't have a UK release date. And so David very kindly sent it all the way from America. I have no idea what it's about. I don't really want to know. I love the title Bear, for it is the nickname that I have with many of my friends. Also, that cover is delightful. He also sent me some other books that he thought I might like. One is Oye by Melissa Mogolon, and again, I know nothing about this at all, but what a stunning cover. I'm really keen to find out more. I think David has really exciting and interesting taste. It's quite exciting. This is out in May in America. I don't know when this is going to be out here. Then we have Housemates by Emma Copley Eisenberg, and again, this is another one I've just heard lots of lovely buzz about from America, and I really like books where the setting is a building where lots of different people live. It could be a hotel, it could be a flat share or housemates, it could be, yeah, any of those things. And so I think at some point I'd like to do a vlog around that, a theme reading vlog. We shall see. Oh, Biscuit's trying to make it for the windowsill, so this could be interesting. Anyway, really excited for that one. Then we have a book that's getting loads of buzz over in America, and I do love this cover. This is Great Expectations by journalist, now author Vincent Gunningham, and again, just loads and loads of buzz about this. And as David was sending me Bear, he said, would I like this? I have seen the UK edition. Just isn't quite as good as this one, so I'm very excited for this. I think this is going to be huge, this book, really huge, and he's got so many fans, like other authors that are absolute fans of his, so yeah, this will be fab. And then this is coming out here in the UK, but David very kindly added it into the mix. This is The Road to the Country by Chigozie Obioma, and lots of you have told me I really need to read his work. I had The Fisherman, and then I had, was it Orchestra of Minorities, which I gave to Mum because it was a classical myth retelling, so I would like to get to those soon, but I don't know whether to start with this one maybe. I'm a bit of a stickler for wanting to start an author's work with their first book and work their way along, but sometimes it's quite nice to go to the most recent one and then backwards. Sorry, I'm being slightly distressed. This Biscuit's trying to climb on all of the bookshelves. Other books from publishers. Actually, this one came all the way from America also. This is The Proof of Toward Eternity, the debut novel by Anton Her, or as I like to call him, Anton Hun, because he is an absolute Hun. I adore him. He has translated some incredible books, and I just think he's a joy, and I'm very excited for this, especially because it's not normally the genre I would read, but I feel like I'm going to be in really safe hands in Hun's hands. hers hands. Anyway, moving on. Oh, I've not done these in size, or I don't know what's wrong with me. That's how I normally do it. One of the books that I'm super duper excited about for later this year, it's one of the most highly anticipated books that I didn't know was coming out, is You're Dead by Sam Sachs, who is a poet I absolutely adore. So excited because I was like, I didn't even know this was coming out. Oh my goodness, is that the Sam Sachs I think it is? And then I was just like, right, well, I'm going to be reading that in due course, so I will. Another book I'm super duper excited about is How We Name the Stars by Andres N. Dorkia, sorry. Again, this is another one. I don't like blurbs and I don't like reading them, but I'll find that there's just certain buzz, or I don't know, something about, I'll hear like little snippets of books on Instagram, and this one is getting loads of advanced praise in America and is being like deemed by a lot of the papers as like one of the most anticipated books of the year. I believe it's queer. And on the back it says, "This stunning debut by an observer one to watch is a tale of romance, heartache and learning to honour the dead. A love story for the ages. Daniel and Sam will leave you forever changed." I mean, that just sounds gorgeous. So yes, very excited for that. That to me is a perfect blurb, like literally three lines maybe. The next 3 books are all by the same author, and this is an author that many of my Patreons have told me that I really need to read. So I emailed the team at Headline and they very kindly sent me all 3 of these, and they're all by S.A. Cosby, who is a thriller writer. Barack Obama absolutely loves him. He looks at themes around race in a really honest, frank way in America, using crime as a subject, which I think crime can be a really brilliant genre for looking at what's going on in society. We have Blacktop Wasteland, which I don't know so much about, but I've heard is really good. Then we have Razorblade Tears, which I think is about the 2 fathers of 2 gay men, one of whom is murdered, and they both have quite homophobic views, and so it looks at how they're dealing with this particular death and how they both interact with the surviving, or is it both of them are killed? Anyway, I thought that sounded amazing. And then I know nothing about his latest one other than I do not think I have heard, when we've done Patreon book club and talked about, and that's always linked down below, and talked about like books that we've loved either throughout the whole of the last year or recently. Hi Biscuit, please don't knock over all my books. Here he is, he's come to say hello. But All the Sinners Bleed has just been absolutely raved about, and yeah, so I'm very excited to listen. Again, I don't know which one to start with. Do I start with the most recent? Do I go back to the other one? Do I go for the one that's got like discussions around queer themes and stuff? Then we have Women and Children First by Alina Grabowski. Now, I was going to have this imported over from America because it is on Sarah Jessica Parker's imprint, SJP Lit, and I know nothing again about it, but she and I have some very similar tastes, and at some point I really want to do a video where I read some of Sarah Jessica Parker's favourite books that I haven't yet, because me and her with Karis Davis, we're totally on the same page, pun intended, with that. Know very little about this other than she's publishing it, and that will, funnily enough, link into 2 books that we'll talk about a little bit later. Biscuit, you right there? Chilling out on the crime section. Don't really love you using the books as a way to get up there, but if you want to get up there, that's absolutely fine. Moving on. Then I have the new novel by Nikki May. This is her second novel. Her first was Wahala, which I really enjoyed. This is a retelling of Mansfield Park, and it's called This Motherless Land. I will be doing an event with Nikki later on this year, but I can't tell you what it is yet because it's a secret, but it's a really good one. Now, this next book came unsolicited from the lovely folk at Daunt Books. I wasn't really sure about it. I hadn't heard anything about it. I really like the cover. Do you like the cover, Biscuit? Is that a nice cover? Yeah, you happy with that one? This is Some Strange Music Draws Me In by Griffin Hansberry. And I was like, okay, this looks quite nice. This is quite pretty. Did you just see yourself there? You quite find yourself quite amusing in mirrors, don't you? And it's set in Massachusetts, and it's about a young girl who becomes quite obsessed with Sylvia, whose shameless swagger and tough girl trans femininity sparks fury amongst her new neighbours and throws Mel into conflict with her mother and her best friend, and is also a catalyst for Mel. This intrigues me. I would like to read a lot more books with trans themes in terms of queer books that I would like to get to. That's kind of a really big thing for me, because I feel like we need to be reading those books, promoting those books, sharing trans stories non-fiction and fiction. I'm really excited for this one. And we have, oh, you can sit down. We Were the Universe by Kimberly Kings Parsons. Now, I read her short story collection, the name of which has now escaped me because I'm dreadful, Black Light. And I really, really enjoyed it and didn't know that this novel was coming at all. It's out in July. It says horny, wickedly funny and brutal. Then I was sent the lovely Hera by Jennifer Saint, which is coming out in May. I feel really bad because I have been sent every single Jennifer Saint book and I know I'm going to love them. Mum's raved about, which was her first? Was it Artemis? I can't remember. Anyway, Mum's raved about the one that she's read, and I've heard so many amazing things from people about her, so I really, really need to get to it. Ariadne, that was her first. Maybe I'll take that away with me actually when I go on holiday in a few weeks. Now, penultimately from publishers, in fact, no, it's not penultimately from publishers, but penultimately from books sent by publishers, we have When I Arrived at the Castle by Emily Carroll. I loved Emily Carroll's Through the Woods. I wasn't such a fan of her more recent graphic novel, but I actually bought this when it was published, I think self-published, and haven't got around to it yet. So I'm really thrilled to have this copy and will be getting to it. I think it might be a lesbian horror vampire kind of tale. Biscuit, can you not get up to the window? Yes, you can, clever boy. And then, very excitingly, is a book that was specially printed for me. It's not coming out until 2025. It is Bear Story by Eowyn Ivy, who is an author I adore. I absolutely love The Snow Child. I really, really loved The Brightest Edge of the World, I think it was called, her second novel. Just, she's phenomenal. And again, bear in the title, instantly intrigued for me as a bear and someone, as I mentioned, often called Bear by my friends. So yeah, really, really, really excited for this one. Don't know anything about it, don't want to, just want to read it and get into it. Now, that was the books sent to me by publishers that I wanted to share with you, because I do get quite a lot of unsolicited books that aren't necessarily for me or might be for me, and I need to look into a little bit more. And I want to start doing videos about trying like the first chapter of those, maybe over on Patreon, we'll see. But I went to the Sceptre showcase in March and got to meet Charlotte Wood, who is one of my favourite authors and who I have been chatting with online and like done online interviews and stuff with her for about the last 10 years, but we'd never met in real life before, and we finally did, and it was so delightful, and she's so wonderful. Her books are fabulous, she's fabulous, like it was just a joy. I'm also very excited actually because I've just found out that I'm going to be doing an event with Christos Chalkis, who is another one of my favourite Australian authors and who I have interviewed again online before. He's coming over and I just can't wait for that. Anyway, at the Sceptre showcase, I picked up quite a few books, not all of the books, and it was a bit like a scrum trying to get near them. The first of which was The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. Now, people have been losing their minds over this book, and Kellyanne told us about how she found the story about this Arctic voyage, and I was like, oh, I'm really intrigued now. And I'd seen like Kate Moss loves it, Julia Armfield. So I picked it up on the off chance. It's one of those ones that I was like, oh, I'll give it a whirl and see. And then the lovely folk at Sceptre asked if I would be part of her tour around the UK. So I'll be interviewing her on May the 21st at Manchester Waterstones Deansgate. So I'll be reading this very soon, probably when I get back from holiday. Then I picked up Straight Acting by Will Tosh, which, I love the cover of this. Wait, was Shakespeare gay? But this looks at queer lives in Shakespearean England. What it says on the back, complexities of Shakespeare's queer life, work and culture. And Sarah Waters loved it. I'm hoping potentially that Will and I will also be doing an event later this year, but it's not in the diary firmly yet. Then another queer non-fiction book, and actually I would like to get to a lot more queer non-fiction because it is something that I've not really tended to head to. Actually, I just need to read more non-fiction in general. Anyway, this is Strange Relations by Ralph Webb, and it's masculinity, sexuality and art in mid-century America, and looks at various different writers. It's got Tennessee Williams, Carson McCullers, John Cheever and James Baldwin. I think this sounds really, really interesting. So yeah, want to get to that in due course. Then I got David Nichols' You Are Here. Everyone's having an absolute David Nichols moment at the moment, especially with the new series of One Day. I read One Day back when it was out in hardback originally and absolutely loved it. It made me weep, and I've enjoyed several of David's books since, and indeed done some events with him, and he's one of the nicest men on earth. This is his new book, You Are Here, and he read the first chapter and it was absolutely hilarious. It was a woman who's on a train from London to the Lake District, and as she's on that journey, she is editing some erotic fiction, and honestly, him reading that was just joy. So yeah, really excited for this. Then we have Scrap by Carla Henkel. Now Carla wasn't there, however she talked about how this is a thriller that came to her when she became slightly obsessed with true crime, but wanted to look at the morals around true crime and the problematic elements of it, but also write a really compelling novel, and that sold it to me. So very excited for this one. That's already out. And penultimately, I also got the new Abhidare and So I Roar, and Aduni is back. So if you are a fan of the girl with the louding voice and you loved Aduni's story, she's back. This is the next part of her life, and I loved how Abhidare talked about how her mother made her write this, because she finally read her book and was like, well, you can't leave it there, you've got to write more about her, what's going on? So we've got this one, which is very exciting indeed. Yeah, looking forward to that. I also got one of those for my mum. And last but not least, we have Fervour by Toby Lloyd, and this sounded fascinating. This is a book which is a family drama. It's set around a Jewish family who believe the daughter of the family might be a witch, and that just had me at hello. He wasn't there either. He talks about this on video, and the cover, I just think the cover is absolutely stunning. What do you think, Biscuit? Do you like this cover? What are your thoughts? Not sure. That's all the books that I got from publishers. Now, before we talk about books that I bought myself, I got some lovely gifts from some of you lovely lot off of my wish list. Actually, before that, I should mention this book, which was sent as a gift from lovely Rachel, and this is Orlando by Jacqueline Hartman, who wrote I Who Have Never Known Men, which is one of my absolute favourite books of the year. Indeed, it may become one of my favourite books ever. I thought it was incredible. This sounds phenomenal and isn't out in print at the moment, but I believe it's about a woman who one day just randomly jumps into the body of a man, and it's based on Orlando by Virginia Woolf, and I'm thinking maybe at some point I should try and read those two together. Me and Virginia Woolf haven't tended to have gotten on that well, but I think this could be an interesting exercise, and yeah, so thank you, because Rachel ordered this, I think, from America to New Zealand and then sent it to me, which is just really kind, so thank you very much. Now, the next lot are all off my wish list, but some of them came without any notes, so I don't know who sent me This Is My Bookstore 100 postcards, which I'm going to use as bookmarks, but I've been wanting this for ages and I'm so thankful. But yeah, no note, and that does happen sometimes with the website that we won't mention. But I also wanted to say my wish list that I have down below all the time is of books that I can't get in the UK, be it in indie bookshops or indeed from Blackwell's or other parts of Waterstones, because Waterstones seems to now own everything. So that's why I kind of justify it to myself. I know it's still bad, but if you can't get it on Blackwell's, what else can you do? Next we have Mullumbimby by Melissa Lukashenko, who is a fantastic Australian author and who I've been wanting to get to for quite some time. This was sent to me by the lovely Sandy, so thank you very much, Sandy. I'm really looking forward to getting to this in due course, as I am Organ Meats by K. Ming Chang. I now have all three of K. Ming Chang's books, have desperately wanted to read all of them, well, the previous two, but I just haven't got around to, and that is something I really need to tackle in the second half of this year, is getting to authors where I've got 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5, 6, 7 or 8 of their books, but I haven't read a single one yet. I did try my first Helen Oyoyemi a while back and it didn't go too well, but this was very kindly sent, I should say, by Joy of Books, so thank you very much indeed. We have Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Huang, and this was sent by the lovely Linda Bennyworth, and this is meant to be a really gripping story about the beauty industry, and I think it's quite twisty. It's not a thriller, but I think it is quite twisty in its own ways. It's a sly, surprising and razor sharp. Oh, do you know what it's about? A musician. That's interesting, who goes into an elite beauty obsessed world. Oh, you're enjoying that scratch? You enjoying that, Scritch? I'm waiting for you to go and nudge all those books and knock them over. Then we have Self-Portrait with Ghost by Meng Jin, and these are short stories. Another thing I really need to do in the future reading wise is get to more of my short story collections, because I've been absolutely dreadful at it, and I do really love short stories. I'd quite like to at some point get to the stage where I maybe even not just read one short story a day, but like read one in the morning before I get up, and then read one just before I go to bed. This was very kindly sent by Jane Peacock, so thank you. We've got 2 more to go before we move on to books that I bought for myself in March. Then we have Disruptions, which was sent by the lovely Tanise. Thank you so much, Tanise. This is by Stephen Milhauser. I read one of his short stories in the short story advent calendar that I like to read every December, and it was brilliant, and I really wanted to get to more of his work. And I don't read that many male writers. I think it maybe is 20%. I just much prefer women's voices, to be fair, but I would like to mix that up a little bit more. Looking forward to getting to this. And then I think Denise also sent me Radiant Heat by Sarah Jane Collins, which is a thriller. It's an Australian novel, and I love me some Australian fiction, as I mentioned with Charlotte Wood and Chrysalis. Some of my favourite authors are from Australia. However, I'm aware I've not read as much as I would like to have in the last couple of years, so that's something I really want to focus on too. Interesting, I didn't mention any of these things in my intentions catch up with my quarter year crisis tag, which was the last video I did, which I'll link down below. On to books that I bought for myself. Now, I can't remember by the first few of these. Well, I ordered this one from America, or did I order this from Canada? It's Lisa Allward's Cocktail. These are, again, short stories. This was up for the Carol Shields Prize. It was on the long list. I loved the sound of it, and I think that Biblioasis as a press is one that I really want to investigate more into. There's another one of their books that we'll talk about in a little bit, so very much looking forward to that. I got a couple of poetry collections, one which Andre Bagu had recommended to me ages ago, called Aqueous Red by Kit Ingram. So I want to get to that in due course. I don't know what it's about, but I love Andre's poetry, so him recommend, and his fiction actually, and his memoir. So I was like, right, I need to read that. And then I didn't know that Ian Humphries had a new poetry collection out. I absolutely loved his previous one, Zebra, and so I'm very excited to get to Coleman Hill. Don't need to know what it's about, just want to get lost in it. And queer poetry is definitely the poetry that I'm sort of heading to most. Then I picked up White Nights by Ursula Honeck, and this is short stories translated by Kate Webster. And this actually I ordered from London Review of Books, and it arrived so quickly and in such beautiful condition. It had been wrapped and everything. This was the book on the International Booker Prize longlist that I was most excited for. It hasn't been shortlisted, but I still really want to read it. I've heard amazing things from people about that. Then, this is a book that I bought because I ordered this off World of Books, which is a place that you can get secondhand books, and they actually give money to authors, and you know, the ethics behind it are really good. And it arrived in such bad condition. I should say this was the book that the show Mary and George was based on, which if you haven't seen it on Sky is absolutely fantastic. Great queer historical tale based on true facts. So I picked up a non-battered copy of The King's Assassin by Benjamin Woolley, and I have to say, because I've now watched the show, I'm less inclined to read it so soon, and there are quite a few books, be they fiction or non-fiction, that have been turned into TV shows or films recently where I'm resisting seeing the film or the show until I've read the book, because I shouldn't have done it this way round. But that said, Julianne Moore as a scheming woman in historical Britain, how could I resist getting to that? I don't actually know where to put the piles of everything now because there's too many. Now, this is a book that I heard about really randomly with the Savage prompts, which are 13 prompts that me and my mum do, reading prompts that we take out of this jar here, all prompts that you have suggested. It was to pick a book that had been up for a prize that you'd never read from before. Now, this was up for the, it's a prize that Margaret Atwood's got something to do with, and I've now completely forgotten its name. But this won that prize. I should say it's In the Upper Country by Kai Thomas, and this sounded fascinating. It's about how people used the Underground Railroad in the 1800s to get to Canada, and then what happened to them, and it looks at freedom in a really interesting way. So yeah, this was like, oh, I need to read that one when I heard about it. Did I read it for that prompt? No, I did not. Am I a naughty sausage? Yes, I am. The other Biblioasis book, is it Biblioasis? Biblioasis book that I picked up was The Future by Catherine Leroux, translated from French by Susan Oridu. And this is one that I wanted to read. It was on Canada Reads this year. It was Heather O'Neill's book choice that she was defending in the Battle of the Books. I won't say where it came, because if you haven't watched it, you can go and find it. Look up Canada Reads 2024 on YouTube, and all of the shows are there, and they're so addictive. It's brilliant. The debates are so fantastic. The women on this season were just phenomenal at defending their books, and also just having some really brilliant conversations with some slightly tricky males, let's put it like that. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Now, this book is still wrapped, because I got this from the lovely folk at West Kirby Books, and they kindly sent it in the post.
Don't really like the sound of that. Oh, it is. Oh, goodness. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Biscuit. You're really crossing it now.
The Gallopers by John Ransom, and I read his book The Whale Tattoo in February and absolutely adored it, and so I was super duper excited to get his second novel, which has come out quite recently. I'll be talking about, if you're wondering where the blinking my wrap-ups have gone, because I haven't done one since January, I'm going to do a February, March and April wrap-up, excluding all the Women's Prize longlisted books, because I'll be doing a separate video on them, probably at the beginning of May. I saw Niven Govindan raving about this on Instagram, and I am always really intrigued by the books that he raves about, because they always seem a bit different. This is non-fiction, queer non-fiction, which I said earlier I really want to read a lot more of. It's about Ed by Robert Gluck, and this is about Robert, who met Ed, and Ed sadly died of HIV and AIDS, and so it looks at how their relationship was. It looks at that time period. I saw Niven raving about this, and so I was like, right, I need to get it. The next two books were books that I ordered from America, and they're the first two books that Sarah Jessica Parker's imprint, SJP Lit, has published. The first is Aphrodites Paradise by Elisa Chang. This has just come out in a very different edition in paperback. It's quite grey and quite austere and mysterious looking. This seems a little bit friendlier, which is interesting. And then we have Coleman Hill by Kim Coleman Foote. It's like a fictional retelling of Kim Coleman Foote's family. And then you've got the image of SJP Lit. Anyway, I love Sarah Jessica Parker. I'm determined that one day we'll become really firm friends and have tea and scones and talk about books for hours. This is now on the shortlist of the Carol Shields Prize 2024, and I'm going to read all of those shortlisted books for a vlog at some point in May. Now, before I admit to doing something really naughty, I picked up Dim Sum Palace by X Bang after seeing it on Jen Campbell's channel, and I am obsessed with dim sum. It's my absolute favourite of all the foods, and I was flicking through this and the images are just so gorgeous. I haven't actually treated myself to it yet, but I want to very, very soon, and yeah, it's an absolute stunner, and I had to get that as a little treat for me. Also as a little treat for me, before we move on to all the books that I bought in bookshops that I can remember, because I've kept them in the bags, and I'm going to be better at doing that going forward, because I do really want to shout about indie bookshops more. I did something naughty. I picked up not one but two books in a supermarket, which is not the best way to do it. The first of those is Rowan Beard's The Divorcees. Now, I think it was Jessie Burton who raved about this, and it happened to have been, I think, the day before I was in said supermarket, and this was £6, and I was like, oh goodness, I can't not. I think I was having a bit of a bad day, but also on that day, I picked up RuPaul's The House of Hidden Meanings, which I've heard a mixture of things about. I'm intrigued for it. That was another one that I got in a slightly naughty way. Now, if we can move those without upsetting Le Biscoire, we can head on to books that I got in bookshops. And I'm going to start off with this book, which I got at the wonderful Drop City Books in Stoke-on-Trent. It's a fabulous bookshop. They've sadly been flooded from the upstairs and they're having a bit of a time of it. So once they're back open, if you get the chance to go to Drop City Books, do go, because it is wonderful and I want to shout about them more and more. I will definitely be heading back once they reopen. The book that I picked up from there was The Foghorn Echoes by Danny Ramadan, and this won the Lambda Literary Award for Gay Fiction and is a book that I think I saw Ben at Doom Antidote talk about and say that like had a few issues, but overall was really like a great read and like something quite different within queer fiction. It says on the back, Hussam and Wassim are teenage boys living in Syria during America's 2003 invasion of Iraq, and it goes between war-torn Damascus and unforgiving Vancouver. Do please support Drop City Books when they're open again, because they're fantastic. I bought quite a few books in foils when I was in London. I thought it was World Poetry Day, and I think it might have been World Poetry Day, but there seems to be a few different World Poetry Days. And so I popped in, I was like, right, I'm going to buy some more queer poetry. Picked up 3 poetry collections, 3 Births by Kay Patrick, who's Mrs. S. I absolutely loved, and it was a signed edition, so that was a no-brainer. I got Plot by Claudia Rankine, which I realised isn't queer, so it just fell into my hands. But I didn't realise this is her first work. I thought this was like her most recent, so that really, really intrigues me, because I've read all bar one and this one of her works and love her writing. This is queer poetry, but with a bit of a twist, because it's a poetic memoir, and that really, really intrigues me. So we have that one. Then we have Headshot by Rita Bullwinkle, which is not poetry at all, but I spotted it. I've heard amazing things about this. Oh look, there's a little ginger nose popping up there. It's about a group of women who are kickboxers, and that intrigues me. I'm not that interested in books about sport as a general rule. However, that one I am game for. I went to Booker Bookshop a few weeks before my birthday, I think, and so naturally treated myself to a few books. Ooh, sorry, Biscuit, you're really not happy with these noises. Emma Flint's Other Women. I absolutely love the paperback of this. I do have a proof of it, so it was a real treat. Do I need 2 copies of every book? No, but as you may have seen on Instagram, I shared a picture the other day of what happens when I take finished paperbacks in my bag. They just get absolutely bad and all ruined down here and stuff, and I quite like having a proof that I can batter about. I know that's a very, very privileged thing to be able to do. However, books are my joy, my treat, and so I don't actually need any excuses, frankly. Then I also picked up Chrysalis by Anna Metcalf, another book recommended by Jen Campbell. She wrote about this last year, and it's about a woman but told through I think 3 different people and their perspectives of her, and that sounds fascinating, so got that. I already have a proof of that one too. And then I also picked up Strong Female Character by Fern Brady, which was up for the Nero Book Awards. I've also realised I've not included my Nero goodie bag, which had the winner, Paul Murray's A Bee Sting, which I do want to read at some point soon too. Anyway, this just sounded incredible. It's about Fern being diagnosed with autism and how that's been for her life, and how, looking back at her life, and how does that make sense of certain stuff or not. And I just, when she was talking about it in any videos that I've seen, I've just found her really fascinating, and I love the way that she talks about, I don't know, there's just something about her that's so engaging and so down to earth and so frank that I just love it. Anyway, so really, really excited to get to that. Last but not least, and I've got to try and remember where I was when I bought this. Gosh, which bookshop was I in when I bought these books? Oh, I know where I was. These books I bought when I was in Bristol, and at another one of my favourite independent bookshops, Book House, which I just love. I picked up 4 books, and the first of those is DDs Umbrella by Huang Zhengzhen, which is translated by E. Ye-won, and this is a queer novel from Korea. That was all I needed to know. Also, it's a Tilted Access Press book. I was at one point planning to read all of them in order of number of publication. I think we're in their 30s now, but I think actually what I'm doing is just dip in and out of them when I can. But yeah, very excited for this. Then I've never heard of this before and was really intrigued, and it's Paper Names by Susie Liu, and this is all about an incident that happens on a New York street and the people involved, and then I think goes back generationally to look at how things have bubbled and simmered along that come to the fore post that event. That's the vibe I got from, I hate the term vibe, but that's the feeling I got from what I read about it. Then we have Christ on a Bike, which is a term I absolutely love. It's a real northern saying, Christ on a Bike, by Orla Owen. And I've been wanting to pick this up for quite a while, and that's because it's been described as being like Black Mirror meets Tales of the Unexpected meets Shirley Jackson, yet northern. And that to me sounds like an absolute gem, but I've just not been able to get it in quite a few bookshops that I have been to, but thankfully Bookhouse had it. And they also had a book that I've been really wanting to get to for quite a while. This is the final book that I'm going to be talking about, so we're almost done. I loved this author's debut, and it was one of the books that we shortlisted for the Costa Book Award debut category when I judged that a few years ago. And the author is Carl Geary, and this is Juno Loves Legs. And I absolutely loved his debut novel, the title of which of course is now completely gone out of my head, Montpellier Parade. I wasn't expecting to, and it completely and utterly won me over. And this sounds like it's absolutely brilliant. Set in 1980s Dublin, and it's about Juno, who loves legs. Sort of a love story in a very working class background, while quite a few difficult things, to put it mildly, are going on in the background. So yeah, I'm super duper intrigued for that. That's quite enough from me. That's quite a long video. I need to rein in hauls a bit because the library looks like such a bomb site. Like already the books that I've got in April are 3 piles high over in that part of the room. I just thought I'd share the chaos of the library plus the new keeper of the library and more of the chaos of the library. What do you think, Biscuit? Not very impressed, are you? I do need to rein it in and actually get to reading some of these once I've finished the Women's Prize Longlist for Fiction 2024. I hope you're all doing super duper well. As always, and I need to start saying this in every video, if you've read any of these and you really enjoyed them, let me know in the comments down below. But as I haven't read these yet, if you didn't like them, hold off until I actually get around to reading them and share my thoughts on them, because then game on, we can chat about the books that we loved and, well, I loved and you hated, or you hated and I loved, or books that we both loved, or books that we both hated. But I always find it really tricky when you've got books that you're super duper excited about that you haven't read and people tell you that they hated them or that they were rubbish. And also, I should say a big thank you to those of you who, when I haven't read a book yet and you absolutely loved it, don't give away any spoilers, because that means a huge amount too, because it's lovely to still get that excitement that you're passing on to me, but without really getting any further ideas about the book. If you would like more of me, this has been quite a long video and quite enough, frankly. You can find my Instagram below, my X, my wishlist that I've mentioned, Patreon and all those things in the description box. I probably won't have put all of the books in there because I'm about to get a train to London where I'll be for the whole weekend, working and also having fun times with friends. So I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I'm quite time poor at the moment, although I have managed to sit down and film for nearly an hour. But it's good to have time sat with Biscuit before I go. Anyway, thank you as always for watching. Gone off on a right tangent there. And I will see you in another video very, very soon. Bye.